Hello and welcome to Keith Writes Songs, a podcast where I talk about the songs that I wrote. And today I have a special guest who is here to interview me and feed into my self-indulgence. Jose, the Nightwolf, Zepeda.
Hey, what's up, guys? Oh,
how's it going, Jose?
It's going, man. Just another day here in quarantine land. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm loving my mask that I get to wear now. It's very in. It's Gucci. I got it for free. It's not really Gucci. It's kind of like a hipster chic, as I like to call it.
Is it a flannel?
Yeah, it's blue flannel.
Oh, blue flannel. Wow. Well,
yeah,
it's very Keith.
It's very Keith. Yes, it's not red flannel.
So have you pooped in the forest yet?
I have not done that yet, no.
Oh, that wasn't part of the songwriting process?
Not yet, no. It might be pretty soon. I'll bring my guitar out, though.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
I keep seeing you making all these Instagram videos. I just assumed you were double dipping.
Yeah. I got some things coming on. I'll talk about them later. But that's not what we're here for today.
So what are we here to do?
We're here to start talking about my new EP called Stories to Tell. It's going to be out in May. Officially, I have it set to May 15th, but I'm impatient. I might drop it sooner.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like you have anything better to do, right?
I have nothing better to do except I probably should have started the promo stuff a long time ago, but here we are.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
But I have you here because I think there's a few people in this world that could call me out on whatever and could probably pull out the most information out of me without me crawling into a turtle shell. And I think you're one of those people. And so I have you here just to kind of ask me some questions to pick my brain a little bit on this EP because, dude, I told you earlier, I am super anxious about this. And I don't think I've ever been as anxious about something in a long time like this.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do you think you're getting so anxious about releasing music? I mean, you've been a musician for years and years and years.
Oh, I've been a musician since I was 13, 14. I think what it is, and I'm more anxious about this than I was about Nashville and 4 years also when I released those. But I think what I'm anxious about is that there's a lot more thought put into these songs than I actually remembered, especially because after this, I'm actually going to be doing I'm going to dissect the songs a little more and have and create specific episodes towards those episodes or towards those songs. And I started writing out whatever, like the notes and stuff that I need. And dude, it's a lot of the information is just, it's too much for me, to be honest.
Right. Cause it's so personal.
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever written, I mean, a lot of the songs I've written are very personal. Like I know that, once I get a good recording of like the perfect song or one of the first 10 songs that I've recorded, that's going to take a lot out of me too. But there's some songs in this EP that I didn't realize really held so true and dear to me, which I'm excited to talk about. But I know that you as a musician also, ladies and gentlemen, drummer from that awesome pop punk band Graveler, go check them out on Spotify and Apple Music.
Not like the Pokemon, but yes.
Yeah, not like the Pokemon. That's my joke. You took it. But Jose, you're probably the pickiest person I know, and you're also the one.
I am picky.
I think you dissect music as much as I do, and so I thought you would be perfect for this opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, going off of, I just thought of some questions to ask you really quick. I listened to the record today, and I have to say that it was really caught off guard by the fact that it wasn't fully instrumental. I, for some reason, didn't catch that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's because I saw Nashville Sam on there, and I assumed that it was going to be an instrumental album.
I see.
And instead, it was the guitar and the vocals. And I actually wanted to ask you before anything else, what is it that you think? I mean, I know that we all have hopes and what we want our music to do when we release it, but what do you think this album's going to do for you? Where do you see it landing?
Well, it's funny because like when I went to go record this stuff, the idea was to actually just record one song and possibly start demoing other songs. But it turned into like a full on like, hey, like I did this one song. Let's try this other song. Let's try this other song. Let's try this other song. And we got it all done, at least tracking wise, in a day. But the way I feel about this is it goes back down to the roots that I kind of set when I started writing music by myself. I had this idea that I'm writing music to play in a full band and stuff, but at the same time, I got so used to just playing by myself in my room, playing guitar, that it was really easy just to go in there and just put these songs down. I didn't use a click track. I'm sure certain parts you'll probably be able to notice, but for me, like it's a very raw sound that I kind of I kind of relate to that. I kind of like fixate on that raw sound, especially in the last couple of years when I'm listening to music. I've been tending to go geared towards like the more emotional, raw sounding music. And I think that's something that I think a lot of other people will be able to relate to. I know that it's probably not going to be the musician's favorite album because it is what it is. It's an acoustic guitar, simple chords, some cool progressions here and there. But I was going more so, I was more so going for an emotionally charged vocal performance than anything.
Right. Yeah. Is that something that do you think that's something that you wanted to do more for style of it, or do you think that's something that you needed personally in your life?
I think I want to do it all, to be honest. I'm pretty certain that this isn't good. These aren't going to be like the final versions of these songs. I know that, Santos, I know Bear, I'm pretty sure This Is the End could possibly have a full band with it one day, recorded or otherwise. But I also think that the more options that people have to listen to, I think is a good thing, especially for my style. If I was like if I was Stick to Your Guns or if I was Counterparts, I couldn't do that stuff. But since I'm doing this like more melodic acoustic singer-songwriter, I could kind of do anything with these songs. And so right now I think I'm just going for that feel that, hey, I'm on this on my own right now. Mm-hmm. And so why don't I just release stuff on my own and then just see what happens from there?
Right. Okay. So the next question I actually had, kind of basing off of that, is how do you feel about it? Like, I know the mixes I heard aren't the final mixes, but I was wondering how you feel about the songs in their completed form now that they're recorded and you're ready to push. You're basically ready to publish. And I know for me, that's always the moment where when I have those final mixes or I'm in that moment where it's about to release is when I want to change everything personally with the music I've released. That's when you look at all the things you want to nitpick and say like, oh, are you sure we don't have time to go and retrack this? Or do you think Colin can get back in? How do you feel overall about the tracks and the way they're recorded?
I have two answers for that. One is I haven't been able to stop listening to it, not from like a nitpicky standpoint, but like I'm really enjoying how it sounds as of right now. Second part though is I do hear the mistakes that I've made, and I'm like, oh, I could probably go back and redo that. But I think like I said, it's not going to be the musician's favorite album, but it could be someone that's going through a really tough time, or it could be, if someone's going to listen to Santos, it's going to be something that's really uplifting. And it's going to help them push through whatever, they're going through. So it's both ways. I love how it sounds. I love the rawness of it. Even with the mistakes, I'm like, you know what? That's just a guitar player playing guitar. It's not polished. I didn't want polished. Maybe one day I'll have a polished album, but for right now, I'm really happy with how this sounds.
Cool. That's good to hear. All right. So let's run through the songs. You have 4 songs on this. It's an EP. You have Bear, which is your first song. We have This Is the End in second. Then we have Nashville Sam. And then Song 40 is your last song. So let's start from the top. Do you want to give a quick overview of what Bear is? You don't have to go super in depth. I know you're going to make your videos later, but just a quick overview for people listening to this now.
Well, did you get to listen to The Heart and the Bear by the Perosia?
I've listened to it before, but I haven't listened to it today. I know you sent it to me, but I just didn't see it.
That's right. We had a drunken night before where...
Yeah.
Yeah. You could listen to that on Random Encounters. That's how you can find out about that drunken night.
Yeah, there's an episode back there somewhere.
Well, Bear is basically the sequel to the song The Heart and the Bear, which was a Perosia song that we released the EP, I think, in 2010. But I wrote that song like 2008 or something. I don't remember. But when we wrote the song, I had input on the lyrics, obviously, because I was a lead singer, but also our guitar player at the time, his name is Justin. He also helped write some of the vocals, and we wrote the chorus, and his chorus was, "The plague is at the window," and then we'd do like a call and response. So he would say, "The plague is at the window," and I'll go, "Way too hard, way too hot to touch." And he'll say, "It's coming after me," and I'll say, "Way too hard to move," or something like that. And to me at the time, and I kind of still now, it doesn't really make sense. That song is about a one-night stand that, I've never had, especially at that time. I didn't have a one night. I was still a virgin at the time. That's a little TMI. Shit. But yeah, it was just like some like kind of immature look at what that kind of lifestyle brings, and whether it's like sin or not, I'm not here to judge, but that's kind of like the standpoint that I was making. It was coming from that kind of sinful look at it. But when I got to writing, I started with the chorus, or not the chorus, but the chords in the verse, and I kind of thought, hey, wouldn't this sound good? A passion too hot to touch, stubborn hearts hard to move. That makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. Then the plague is outside the window, you can't escape, which is kind of like the world coming after you in a sense. And it's not because these people are doing anything wrong. It's just the outcome. The basically, if you're going into the second verse, you'll find out that a child was born from this, and because a child was born from this, those parents weren't equipped to actually have a child, and it kind of screwed up that child. And that's kind of what the song's about. The song's from the child's perspective, after finding out what, kind of like the reintroduction to the actual Heart and the Bear lyrics in the beginning.
Now, did you write this to kind of, like you said, you wrote originally when you wrote your song The Perosia, that it was like a juvenile look at this thing you didn't really know? Yeah. Is this kind of your way of taking that back and trying to make it more of an adult conversation?
In a sense, yeah. It's something where
also you're calling back to the thing you've written already,
yes.
but I was wondering, like, if this is a way for you to kind of get in touch with that and be like, oh, let me try to evolve this kind of story.
It's kind of to redeem those wrongs. It was also not wrongs. It wasn't wrong, but it was kind of like redeem the idea that I had at the time, because it was like I was talking to a youth group more so than I was having a conversation with you as a 30-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
But also
28.
That's everyone's favorite.
So let's settle that.
Well, I'm 31.
I know.
I'm old. But it was also a lot of people's favorite songs. And, if anyone listens to Random Encounters or other host of that show, Nate, that was his favorite song. And he bugs me to this day just to teach him how to do the riff in The Heart and the Bear. And we stopped playing that song because we thought it was too easy to play. Like, we wanted to start playing more techie stuff. But we didn't have that musical industry outlook where it's like, hey, this is our most popular song. Why are we benching it?
Right,
kind of thing. And I wanted to redeem that as well. I wanted to create something out of that, and maybe one of these days I could create something out of The Heart and the Bear and just kind of create a story out of both songs.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think there's something really cool about taking those things that you've made before, because I know it's really easy to kind of look back at the stuff you made earlier when you start making music, and you, like, if you're talking about nitpicking music, you really pick that stuff apart, because, I mean, you were 18 or whatever when you wrote it, and it doesn't make much sense. But it's cool that you're trying to take it, make it new, and kind of make more sense as an adult.
Yeah,
bring your
and people could go back and listen to the Heart and the Bear and be like, oh man, because I still listen to the Perosia stuff too. Mm-hmm. No matter how whatever headspace I was in when I wrote the lyrics, like, I still listen to it and I'm like, man, this is still good stuff. I mean, you've seen me cry while I was listening to it. So
yeah, but you were that was before Sober Settles.
That was before Sober Settles, yes.
So moving on to This Is the End. So let's talk about that song. What's this song mean to you?
I think this song... So when I originally wrote it, I was going through somewhat of a breakup. It wasn't really a breakup. I was like kind of dating someone, and I got maybe a little too emotionally involved, and she wasn't there. Mm-hmm. I think at first she was. This was like sometime last year, and I told her when we were seeing each other that, like, yeah, no matter what, like, I'll probably end up writing a song, and I'll call it Remington Love Sticks because she had a dog named Remington, and literally after we stopped dating, I didn't miss her at all. I missed the dog. That was the one bad thing about it.
So is the song about the dog specifically?
I like to say this song's about the dog, yeah. But I think it was also at a point where I was going through a lifestyle change at the time.
Right.
I wasn't like I was at the time. Before that, I was kind of like serial dating. I ended up dating a girl for several months, and I kind of ended that because just different circumstances. It was a situation that, like, I don't know if either of us could actually be in a relationship with each other. And so I started dating this other girl, and I kind of like, oh, you know what? Like, I could see myself actually being with this person. I could see myself. I wasn't like falling in love or anything like that, but I was just kind of like, the emotions were there. Like, everything was kind of pushing forward. Like, we were doing like couple stuff. Like, on Sundays, we would go to like the farmer's market and stuff like that. And I really liked it. I really liked, how our relationship was. But our situations, circumstances, lifestyles were completely different. And so it didn't work out. And I was a little hurt, to be honest, but this song kind of came out of it, and it's one of my favorite songs. I was really listening to a lot of country at the time. Mm-hmm. I still listen to a lot of country, but
I think you can hear that influence clearly too. It doesn't have the folk kind of angle that some of your songs do. It has more of a kind of blues country sound.
Yeah. Like on this, you could hear it in the drums, like boom, ba-na, ba-da-na, ba-da-na. And because I was listening to a lot of Jason Isbell and a lot of I was still listening to Frank Turner because I always listen to Frank Turner, but and so it kind of came out, and so it's one of my favorite songs to play. I remember I played it for the first time at Pig and Whistle, and you were there. Mm-hmm. And I also had a follow-up song to that I wish I recorded, but you could listen to it on my Instagram TV because I made a video for This Is the End, and it has that follow-up at the end, which that follow-up got over pretty well, and I'm kind of bummed. That's maybe one of my biggest regret. I didn't record it.
Hey, I mean, there's always another record, right?
It's true, yeah. That's true. But yeah, that's basically This Is the End.
So, are you, because hearing the song, it's obviously very emotionally charged, at least at the time of writing it. Do you have any of those, like, feelings or regrets still, or is that something that plays better in a song now that it's done?
Here's the thing about me. A lot of my emotions are, at that moment, are gone by the time I finish the song. At least if I'm proud of the song. Right. Like, those emotions are gone for the most part. But there are other things that come up that if I'm going to be on stage, I could play that song and the emotions can come back, but it's not the same. It's not like I'm thinking about that certain person. I'm more so thinking about whatever's going on right now. Mm-hmm.
And you can let it kind of charge the feeling.
Yeah. Because I used to be the kind where, I would, and it's something that I really had to change in my life, especially as not just as a musician, but as a person. But when I would play music with the Perosia, I would, just so I could get that emotion, because the Perosia songs, like, to be fair, they're Christian songs. And they're not really like depressing, really. They're more uplifting. They're more call to arms type songs. So, and at the time I didn't have that emotion towards those songs. So I had to go and think about times that I was brokenhearted by someone that didn't want to be with me. Mm-hmm. And it like, I think it drove me down this kind of like weird spiral, because I would have to like continuously like kind of cut my hand over and over again by thinking about these things, or by, going on their Facebook and like seeing what they're doing and like getting heartbroken that they're married to that guy or something like that. And so now I'm more so not doing that, but I'm still, I still have like situations in my life where I could kind of go back to those feelings without going back to the past, but kind of focusing on the future.
Right. You can use it kind of as a resource to get the message across, whatever the song is about, but it doesn't have to be something that affects you in any real capacity. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. That's another thing that I think when you're younger, right, you want every song to feel like it's connected and like to be like, oh, I always want to feel this feeling when I'm playing the song. Yeah. But then the older you get, it seems like you just kind of want to pour anything you have left into it and then let it be a work that kind of speaks for itself. It's an interesting approach that I feel like every musician that I know carries on when they get older if they keep playing music. It seems like you eventually get over the fact of like, oh, like I need to feel this if I want it to be right, and you make it a thing of like, no, this is the song. At the time that I wrote it, I felt it, and that's why the song is the way it is, and that's how it's going to stay. And like I said, I think that's something that everyone does. It's just interesting to kind of have a dialogue about it and talk about it and like express it, you know?
Yeah, I kind of like now I kind of start, and maybe it's something I shouldn't do, but sometimes I think about like, what if I'm let down in the future? And then I kind of let those feelings kind of come in. But to be honest, like I'm not a depressed person. I am an anxious person. I mean, I shake my leg all the time.
Yeah, same here.
But it's not like anxious. It's not anxiety where it creates like bad situations in my mind. It's more anxiety where I can't just stop moving. I have to keep going. And I think I kind of focus more so on that when I play these songs. More so than focus on the actual feelings. Like I go through different phases.
So moving on from that, we have Nashville Sam, which is the song that has been released, but this is a stripped down only acoustic version. This one was a surprise to me too, because I listened to it and I just didn't know how it would adapt. Because you're so used to hearing one version of it, and I'm actually not a huge fan of like when I know a song full instrumental and someone releases an acoustic version. I'm always very like cautious listening to it because I'm scared I won't like it. The Wonder Years recently did that with I forgot the name of their newest album, but they made a part 2 of their acoustic songs.
Burst and Decay.
Yeah. They made a part 2 to their acoustic songs, and I just did not really dig it, like some of the older songs like Hoodie Weather and stuff like that. But Nashville Sam, I was actually pleasantly surprised. It holds really well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the original way I wrote it before I put a band to it. Except the fact that it was so slow. I kind of wrote it to be more of that punk strum kind of feel. And I talked about it because I talked about Nashville Sam on my first podcast, in which when I'm going back to talk about these songs, I'm actually going to have Chris Kemple, my guitar player. I'm going to have him on the show and talk about Nashville Sam, so I'm not just stating the same information over again. But with Nashville Sam, like my buddy Drew Appel, he's in a band called Hot Chicks on Pogo Sticks, and he recorded this, and he has this Gibson J45 and had dull out strings, and so I put a capo on it and I just started strumming Nashville Sam because I've been kind of toying with it anyway, and I was like, let's try this. Let's see how this sounds, especially in a lower key, more somber strum, something that's more raw, like I wanted.
Yeah, I think I think honestly that was probably my favorite song on the record. I think it's a lot of its familiarity though, because that's fair. It's like when someone releases a single, you look forward to hearing it in the full album because it's something you know and you can sing to pretty immediately. Are you Nashville Sam? Is that song about you drinking?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not about. Well, it is about me drinking, yes.
Because I listened to that song and I remember having conversations with you where you thought that you had a drinking problem, and that was kind of partially why you went sober this year.
Yeah.
That and then health reasons too. Obviously, alcohol is not great in your liver, but do you?
No, it's not. It's not the best for my liver.
Do you think that?
My blood pressure.
Do you think that when you wrote that song, you were singing about yourself and feeling like you had to stop?
I was, so when I wrote Nashville Sam, I wrote it in 2018, I think. When I wrote it, I don't remember my headspace when I wrote it, but I was thinking about, I know that I was thinking about when I was on the road and on tour with American Marksman from Colorado. We were in Texas, and I was thinking about the time we were in Texas, and I got really drunk out there, and we were walking down Fort Worth, and I was talking to this girl at the time, and then she told me like, hey, I shouldn't, we shouldn't be together anymore. And so that's kind of where I think that's the original idea of what the song was about. But the more I went down, kind of like, because I'm one of those, like, I'll have the idea at first, but then months later or a year later, like my opinion of the song or my idea of the song, it's like, hey, I think there's like some kind of subconscious thing going on. And I don't think the song's necessarily about my drink, like me having a drinking problem. I think it was more so about my loneliness. about being alone. I think it was a song where I'm looking back, like I'm with these people, but I'm too drunk to actually be with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then and I'm not saying I was in love with this girl at the time, but say that I am in love with the girl. We all want that relationship. Like if I had that person and, I'm not, they're not there, then who am I kind of thought. And that's kind of where I stand with Nashville Sam now. It's more so a song about loneliness than it is really about drinking. It's just kind of feeding into whatever
mechanisms you have to use to cope.
Yeah. And thinking about it, I did use drinking a lot in a way to cope, because not like when I was out with you guys, like it was fun, it was great. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was just thinking about having a good time. But if I was home and by myself, and because I hardly ever had alcohol in my house, but if I did have alcohol in my house, I was drinking it, and I was by myself. It wasn't a good situation for me, and so that's kind of that's where I stand with Nashville now.
How do you feel now? I mean, you've been sober this entire year, right? Ever since, when was the last time? In December?
It was December 31st. It was New Year's Eve when we did the Random Encounters bottle share.
Yeah, that's right.
And Nate killed it.
Yeah.
Nate killed it.
So how do you feel now that you haven't had a single drink since December?
I'm really clear, like more clear-minded. I have more initiative. I think that's one of the big things. There's more initiative that I feel I'm taking. Especially, putting out this album, working on our podcast, working on this podcast. I just started working with another guy about a podcast, and I'm able to kind of not just sulk in my own miserableness. I'm able to be more forward thinking and continue down the path that I'm on. And I want to be an artist. I want to be creative. Mm-hmm. And if anything, it's helped my creative juices a lot more than drinking has ever. I never wrote a song drunk. I never wrote a song drunk and was happy with it. Every song that I've written that I love and adore, I was always sober. And so that hasn't changed. My feelings haven't changed. And if anything, like I'm not numbing myself or numbing my emotions by drinking. And it's really helped me out a lot.
So, I know we're talking about like loneliness and like how you feel like that was kind of a big contributor to the song. How are you doing now? I know being away from everyone and kind of being locked up in the mountains has been kind of hard for you. Are you having problems with that, with the situation we're in right now?
I bought a Fender Deluxe P-Bass.
Yeah, I know.
So that's helped me out.
The stimulus check hit, huh?
Yeah. If anything, this little quarantine thing, it might be dated a little bit if people are listening to this podcast down the road, but there was a time where we were locked in our houses for a while.
Well, and I think it's a cool story because, all the stuff that's happening now, I've been talking to Katie, my partner, about it, about how, like, we're always going to remember this time and all the things that happened during this time.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, whether it be like what we're doing in our careers or you're releasing an album, having to learn how to podcast from different like area codes and stuff like that. It's going to be interesting. So I think you'll always be able to look back at this EP and be like, oh, I released that in the middle of a national pandemic when we were in a quarantine.
Dude. Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm blessed because I have a job, I'm still working. And then I have another job where, I'm still getting paid for it. And not a lot of people can say that. And so I've been actually trying to figure out ways to be able to help those that are not able to do that. But if anything that this has helped, it's my guitar playing. Like I've been practicing every single day. I've been working on some different projects bass wise. And I have some covers coming out that, I don't know if I could talk about it yet. I could probably talk about it on a different podcast. And also, it's my writing is kind of stable, like it's kind of stalled for a little bit, but that kind of happens. I go through phases.
Well, why I think that happens is because you write a billion songs, which is kind of a good segue into the fact that the last song on this record is called Song 40, and I think that's because it's legitimately the 40th song you wrote.
We didn't talk about Santos though.
Oh, I totally missed Santos. You're right. Yeah, let's talk about Santos.
And I'm honestly the most surprised that you'd forget about that one.
No, it's because actually Katie's in the room and I balled up the paper that had the songs written on and threw it at her because I thought I'd remember and I totally forgot.
I see. No, it's fair.
So let's talk about Santos. What does this song mean to you?
Yeah, Santos is actually the first song on the EP. Yeah, Santos is a funny story. I might have the most anxiety about this song, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could tell.
Because I was writing out kind of the notes for More Keith Writes Songs podcast, and I might have to ask some permissions about this. Maybe
you can
maybe
always
not. I'll just go for it.
You could always be mysterious and just let it fly.
Oh, I'm vague as AF. Like I'm not.
No, I'm saying you can have a breakdown for all the other songs and then be like, this one's for me. People love that. Bring Me the Horizon when they get asked about Chelsea Smiles.
Yeah, no, Santos is probably the most optimistic song that I've ever written, and probably still to this day, it's probably still the most optimistic song.
Yeah, it's a real departure from your normal work for sure.
I was going through a good time, man.
Were?
This quarantine hit at a bad time. Actually, it might have hit at a good time, to be honest. But yeah, no, Santos is about a friend of mine that had still has a real positive influence on my life, and I kind of live by this motto a little bit, that I feel like every single person ever born, ever alive, deserves a song written about them, whether it's good or bad, because you write bad songs about people too. But I feel like everyone could have a song written about them. And when I met this person, I knew her for a while, but we started talking last year, and I'll get a little more into detail on the podcast, but I told her I would write a song about, her friendship and what she means to me, to a certain extent. And that just kind of came out as like a love song because I over exaggerate everything. And the thing is that when you listen to the episode that I'm going to be doing for it, you'll find out that the version of Santos that you're hearing and that's on the EP wasn't the first version of that song. I've actually went through two different versions of that song.
Oh, okay.
That were completely different. The lyrics and the verses were the same. The choruses were different. And I think the idea was different too, because the chorus on the original was, if I could be a better man, then I'd pray for you to stay as long as I can, or as long as you can. And the chorus in this song is completely different. It's basically kind of like an assurance that, I feel like there's something going on. There's something real here. And whether you want to admit it or not, I'm going to admit it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it has that kind of Lumineers feel to it. I know that when I played it for you the first time, you're like, hey, you could totally sing, Lumineers in the chorus too, and kind of do that for fun while you're live. And I was like, yeah, it's a good idea. But yeah, I feel like this song, it means a lot to me. All the songs mean a lot to me, but this one's probably the one I'm the most anxious about, especially playing live. So I don't know how it's going to go over because it's not like the other songs. It's very positive.
So can I ask you, being vague, does the person that this song is about, do they know that the song's coming out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything's cool there?
Everything's cool there. In fact, I sent her the demo, the original demo of the final version. She never heard the original version, in which I'm going to play it on this podcast, which is not going to go over very well because it sucks.
It's all a process, right?
Exactly, and that's what this show's about. The show's about the process. But I like the song a lot. Actually, there was no bridge until I went into the studio with Drew. There was no bridge to that song. It kind of just ended after the second verse, and then I just kind of played around with it from then on. So yeah, that's Santos. And I have fun playing it. I do.
And then, so song 40. Let's talk about song 40. Is this the real 40th song you wrote?
Yes, it's
post Perosia.
It's legitimately the. No. If that's the case, then
no, I said
it's
post.
Probably
post Perosia.
Post Perosia. Yes. It's the 40th song. It's at least the 40th in my Word document that I keep. A couple of those, songs, at least lyric wise, are kind of in a little bit of a purgatory. But at least lyric wise, yeah, it's song 40. And I've worked with stuff with different songs, but this one, yeah, this is legit.
At least it's like a fully formed idea, right? So what's this song about to you?
I can't really go into too. I actually might blend this song in with the Nashville Sam episode because there's not too much details there's not too many details to the song. When I wrote it, I was on this middle school retreat out back in February, and
so hold on really quick, just to be clear, you were chaperoning this thing. You were not a middle schooler.
I was actually I was leading worship there.
Got it.
And chaperoning too. Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of a kick in the butt for me that weekend. At least when I kind of looked back at my lifestyle and how I was living before, not that I was living in a really bad way, but I was living in a very unproductive way.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I like to look at it. It was unproductive. It was, still kind of childish, kind of, I'm 31 years old, and there were certain things that were coming up that I should have been able to deal with at this time in my life, but can't. And so that weekend was a real kick in the butt. And I brought the ukulele that we got at Fender for a gig that we did,
mm-hmm.
That I did with you guys. Actually, I shouldn't say we, but I joined Graveler for a night, and
an early morning,
basically. An early morning, yeah, and rainy. We just beat the rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had the ukulele out, and I had my own room, and I was kind of just strumming the chords, and I was thinking about Santos when I wrote it, and
so they're kind of tangentially related.
Yeah, they are related because I was thinking. So I'll go into I'll go into this little detail, like this little story that she was actually supposed to come down with me or up with me to the mountain for at least one night or so, and plans didn't end up working out that way. And so it was that Saturday night, and you know me, unless it's Nate, I'm really understanding about people and their plans and stuff like that, especially when they make plans with me. When people make plans with me and they break them, I'm always okay. I'm for the most part okay with kind of letting go. I might be disappointed a little bit, but I'll be okay.
Right.
And it was that Saturday night, and it was a life-changing experience. I was playing songs that I hadn't played for 10 years. I was realizing that I'm a pretty decent guitar player because the songs I was playing, I played them way better than I did when I was, 10 years ago. And also, I really missed this person. And so I kind of pulled out the ukulele. I kind of just started strumming, and the idea was coming to me that I need to be a better person. And if I want someone that's as cool and genuine as this girl, not specifically this girl, but just someone in general that can fit all these kind of puzzle pieces, I guess. Then, I need to kind of grow up. And so I kind of started thinking about the impact that this person had on me and still has on me, and had, and that's kind of where the chorus kind of comes in, where it's it's something I can't forget,
mm-hmm.
And I also, the first verse, I was thinking about, that Bright Eyes song, First Day of My Life. And there's a part where he's singing about driving all night, to be with this person. And so that kind of the word, I drove all night just to see the stars, just to see the glow of sunlight, with you in my arms. And, that's kind of where that came from. Just the idea of driving down the mountain right then and there, just to pick this person up, go to the beach, and just be there.
Now, can I ask
present.
you, the vocal effect that you put on your voice, the layer, was that your idea in studio, or was that something that you had kind of all along? Because I listened to it, and for a long time I thought it was a sample, that you were sampling some song I just hadn't heard, maybe. And then
a lot of people thought that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound anything like you.
Yeah, this song wasn't supposed to be on the EP at all. I was sitting in my room one night, and I started kind of practicing recording. And what I did was, because I can't sing loud where I live, I played the song in the original key. The original key is C, and I sang it low into the microphone, and I just kind of put on a telephone. Yeah, I put on a telephone filter, and it reminded me of the early November. And so I was like, wow.
Yeah, it does. It does
really
kind
good.
of sound like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was kind of what's this? I think it's called Little Black Heart or something like that, off the Mother, the Mechanic, the Path, or whatever it's called. It reminds me of that kind of filter, that telephone filter. And I really liked it. And I kind of just kept listening to it until someone told me like, hey, I think you probably could release this the way it is. And it sounds good. And it also contains the first guitar riff the first guitar lead I've ever done in my life.
Oh, really?
Or ever written. Yeah. That's the first like actual like guitar solo, whatever I've ever written.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel pretty confident in it?
Oh, I love it. Like it's also the same thing with the EP. I was listening to that song over and over and over again. Like I just couldn't stop. And it's only 2 minutes. It's only two verses. It's more of like a passerby song. It's not really like a song. And that's kind of why I put it at the end, because at the end of Nashville Sam, it kind of, I could end with Nashville Sam, but I like the idea of, people could stop at Nashville Sam, but then there's also this little bonus track after it. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to continue the journey, you could go through that. And then maybe it'll make you want to listen to the beginning again. I don't think any of these songs are really strong last songs, to be honest. I feel like they're all either beginning of an album or middle of an album. Nashville Sam's, obviously it would be last because that's like the redone version of Nashville Sam. I wouldn't just stick it in the middle.
Right.
I've told that story before, so why not just put it at the end and then put the other stories before it? But it just didn't feel right. And so when I kind of put them all together on Apple, on iTunes, I put all the songs kind of together into one album, and I listened to it, and I liked how that kind of with the guitar solo and riff and stuff, it kind of gave that finality that I kind of didn't know I wanted, but I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's kind of the story of how that got in there. Yeah.
So do you feel, okay, you said that's going to be the last song on the record here. Do you, or on the EP, I mean, do you feel like having an EP lets you experiment more with these kind of weird songs? Because you're not really super worried about, oh, how does it start? How does it end? What's the structure? Because it's 4 or 5 songs in an EP generally. And you can kind of throw what you have in there and see like, all right, this is kind of like a salad we're mixing in here and see what kind of comes up.
It's like both cups. I did kind of think about what song order, what the order the songs would go into. Mm-hmm. Because I felt that if I did like Santos into This Is the End, it could possibly tell a different story that I didn't want to tell.
Right. Yeah.
Like this really uplifting song. And then basically like, hey, I'm tired of you calling me 11 PM to get laid. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to tell that story. So I was thinking about, what keys the songs are in. Santos and Bear are in the same key, so it kind of blends together.
Right.
And I feel like Bear has more of like I don't want to say full song feel, but it feels like more of a full song than Santos does. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like Santos has its verse, bridge, end, but Bear there's like an oomph in Bear that I feel like it kind of gives, you could transition from Bear into anything.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of why I put it there. And also if you're going to think about cohesiveness, you could think, Santos is like, that's the first song. It's the uplifting song. It's a song about wanting to be with someone. And then you get to Bear, and Bear is about losing that someone and finding someone else and then kind of screwing up your life. Mm-hmm. And then This Is the End kind of goes into a story about, a breakup of that. And, who knows where the child goes, but you kind of have that. And then you have Nashville Sam, which is about being lonely. And then song 40 kind of reflecting back to Santos, which I didn't even think about that until right now. So
hey,
there you go.
Well, there you go. Seems like you nailed it then on accident.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it happened.
So last question here. We've kind of run through all the songs and how you feel about it. Are you ready for this to release? Like, are you like mentally ready for the album to be out there?
I think during the quarantine, I'm more ready than I would be if I were able to play shows, mm-hmm. because I don't know if I'd be able to play shows. At least during the quarantine, I could I'm thinking about possibly doing a live stream concert and
that'd be cool.
Kind of seeing how that does. But I don't know if I had an idea of doing like a house, kind of an album release house show. Kind of a throwback to like what you would do in high school and stuff.
Right.
But it's also stuff that bands like Pedro the Lion and a ton of other kind of low key bands do from time to time. I know the Deer Hunter's done it. I'm pretty sure the Wonder Years have done it.
Yeah.
House shows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like a house tour or something.
Yeah,
so
they
I was
did a
thinking
tour.
about doing something like that. Yeah, that's right. They did. I was thinking about doing something like that. But, under this situation, I can't do that. So I think for right now, yeah, I think I'm ready for it. Emotionally, I think I'm prepared for it. But my fear is that, in all honesty, my fear is that it's going to be released and then nothing's going to happen with it. And I know that I'm going to have to keep pushing, but I know that the urge to stop is going to be there, especially with all the work that I've put into this.
Yeah, it always is.
But yeah, and exactly. And I'm really proud of these songs. The one thing is that I'm so proud of these songs that I want everyone to listen to them. It's not like with the Perosia. I wanted everyone to listen to the Perosia too, but I never felt the way about those songs that I do with these songs.
Right.
And with all my songs, to be honest, at least the ones that, at least the 20 that I could play live.
Oh God. That's going to be the longest set of all time.
I'll get a full band before I do that.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be a long rehearsal phase. Anyway, Keith, thanks.
Frank Turner does it. Yeah.
Anyway, Keith, I was going to say thank you for having me on and for letting me interview you here about this album coming up. I'm really excited for it and see what it does and see how people react to it. So, when is that coming out?
So officially it's supposed to come out May 15th. It might come out a week before or a couple weeks before. Who knows?
So it could be out tomorrow.
It could be out tomorrow. But today's Friday. At least next week. I'm going by that Friday schedule. I'm an old school.
Yeah, I got you.
I should go Tuesday actually.
It doesn't matter. Everyone's home anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone's releasing on every day now too.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm going to be doing at least 4 episodes of Keith Wright songs about this project. I'm going to be doing in song order, so it'd be Santos, Bear, This Is the End, and then I think I am going to blend Nashville Sam and Song 40 because I've already done an episode on Nashville Sam, so there's not much more I could talk about it. There's still stuff I could talk, but I'm absolutely proud of this. And I thank you so much, Jose, for coming on and asking me these questions. I knew that if there's one person that could possibly ask me these questions and, it'd be all right, you're that person. So
yeah, well, thanks, man. I love doing stuff like this. It's such a cool, I like breaking things down like this and listening to them and getting kind of to the deeper roots of it all.
Hey, since it's my show, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Yosep. That's YOSSEPP. You can also find me on the Random Encounters podcast, and Keith will tell you about all that stuff, I'm sure. We're everywhere.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're everywhere.
And besides
Spotify.
Besides that, you can find me at home or Katie's house because quarantine, nothing's allowed.
Yeah, who knew Sober Settles 2020 would land on Quarantine 2020?
Yeah, man. When this year started, we didn't expect it to be like this, but... You picked a year to be sober for sure.
Hey, you know what? If I could make it out of this year sober, then I could do anything. That's what that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, Keith, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for thank you for coming on. Thank you for having me too. And if you want to find me, you could go on Instagram at Keith.Settles, Twitter at I'm Keith Settles, KeithSettles.com. I have a link tree in my Instagram, so you could find all my links there, including Random Encounters. I haven't told Jose about that. But you can find it in my link tree in my profile if you just click that link. And also listen to Nashville Sam and listen to 4 Years on Spotify and Apple Music. Go and follow me on both those accounts, and you'll be getting stories to tell right when it's released. So that's it. Thank you for listening to Keith Wright songs. I guess I'm going to end with song 40.
Yeah, go ahead. Play us out, Keith.
I drove all night just to see the glow of sunrise with you wrapped in my arms, hearts full as the earth won't start the day. And I can never forget this feeling, and I can never forget this feeling. For a while I couldn't stand, I just fall over again. Lost and out of touch, my heart of stone, till you came and broke right through. I can never forget that feeling, and I can never forget that feeling.